Here's a quick update on some of my conifers. This one is the pond cypress. Taxodium ascendens is the Latin name. And you can see it's gotten pretty tall now. It's approaching 6 feet tall. And the foliage texture is definitely different from the regular bald cypress. You can see the little tiny parts of the needle are closely held next to that stem. Whereas if I take a look at the regular bald cypress, it's more like flat sprays of foliage like a fern. So you can contrast the two types of foliage here. I definitely see why they call pond cypress a different species. But if you go further down on the tree, it starts to look a little bit more similar to regular cypress. So if it is a separate species, it's pretty closely related. Also, here is my small Lijiang spruce. This is Picea lijiangensis. Did some good growth this year, probably put on about 10 inches of growth maybe. And so this one will hopefully grow with the same vigor that my larger specimen has grown. And also wanted to show these two pines real quick. This is Table Mountain pine. Pinus pungens is the Latin name. A somewhat rare pine. Here's another one. Native to the eastern United States. Parts of Tennessee even have this growing in the wild. But it definitely doesn't grow in Middle Tennessee where I have it growing. It did pretty good this year and actually put on some late season growth. I believe that's a second push of growth there. So definitely not as fast growing as something like Virginia pine, which it somewhat resembles. But it's done fairly well in this spot. This is a mostly sun spot, although it does get afternoon shade from this massive eastern red cedar right here. And this is a small pitch pine. I have a much larger one in the back, but this one is just also in mostly sun. Did pretty good. This was eaten a little bit by deer and came back very well. And you can see it has fairly long needles. I may have to do something to protect these pines this winter from deer damage. Okay, right here, center screen, we have a medium-sized pine tree here, which is getting larger. That is the spruce pine, Pinus glabra. And the top is a little bit less than ideal. You can see how it kind of turns sideways there. And that's because it's shaded by these much larger loblollies here on the left side, so it's reaching for the sun, but I think it will eventually balance out, so I'm not going to try to do anything to it. And let me show you a close-up of that spruce pine foliage. Fairly delicate, not very stiff like the pitch pine or the Table Mountain pine. It's pretty flexible. And it's relatively fast growing, multiple pushes of growth per year. And similar to that, the Virginia pine has multiple pushes of growth. This one pine tree right here, at one point I had to completely cut the top out of it because it had grown too fast and fallen over because I watered it. So I stopped watering it, and ever since I stopped watering it, it's done great. Virginia pine is extremely drought tolerant, but also very fast growing. And it is native here to Middle Tennessee, so there's no question when it comes to adaptability to soil and climate. Virginia pine is one of the best. And real quick, I'll skip over this Arizona cypress. We've looked at that before. I wanted to show the progress of my blue Atlas cedar. Definitely growing very rapidly, but as we discussed before, it's not much in the way of a privacy screen tree. It's more of a specimen tree because it is fairly see-through, but it has grown a lot. And even these Berkei red cedars here, I have 3 in this little cluster. This is Juniperus virginiana, and by the way, the blue Atlas cedar is Cedrus atlantica there. These have also continued to grow very tall. Now I'm going to cut to some footage I took earlier this morning looking at the side of the yard where I had to start cutting down one of my thuja green giants, and you'll see what that looks like. And at the very end, I'm going to throw in a little bit of bonus footage with no voiceover where I spotted a pretty large Japanese umbrella pine at Hewitt Garden Center. So enjoy. You can see this is what's left of the thuja green giant where I had to cut down that dead tree. And of course the dog loves this extra fun spot now. But right next to that you can also see bits of the stump down there where I took out a dead emerald green arbor vitae. And next to it was that other thuja green giant, which I said earlier was looking bad. And I still think it does look bad. A little bit yellowish, but at the bottom you can see it's actually already started to die. These are the lowest branches, and it does generally die at the lower branches first and then pretty quickly move up the tree. But you can see even this higher branch here is already going pretty yellow. I mean, let's compare that to a normal emerald green arborvitae down there, and I think you can see that color contrast. So pretty sure this one's going to die, and even if it's not completely yellow, by the time I get to it, I will probably preemptively remove it. So that would be 2 thuja green giants gone, and 1 emerald green arborvitae, which opens up quite a large area for replanting. And you can see inside here, this was my innermost line of planted things. There's an Elaeagnus right there with these silverish colored leaves, and slightly to the right of that, or left of that, the green leaves are the Portuguese laurel. And there's a little bit of a gap there where there was really nothing big in that spot. There's actually a Douglas fir down there at the very bottom. And then I had this Leland cypress that was already growing there, so that did maintain some of the privacy screen. And you can see the back side of this remaining emerald green arborvitae looks dead, but it's really not. That was just shaded foliage, and it does lose the foliage in the shade. So I don't think that will regrow foliage there, but this side with foliage still on it will continue to grow and add some privacy.